intertwined in there are 4 elements of what it means to deny yourself, to put yourself in a position where God can equip you and where he can strengthen you, where he can encourage you, where he can build you up, and where he can take you into your destiny. So, the assignment would be, look at Genesis chapter 37 through 50 sometime during this week in your prayer time, and let the Lord speak to you. In that story, we find that Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob. And as a 17-year-old shepherd, Joseph is something of a tattletale. He was the favored son. He wanted to do nothing more than bring a bad report about his brothers to his father. He was caught up in that. He thought just because he had been given this fancy coat, and because he was the favored son, and because he had a position within the family system, that he could do no wrong. Joseph was soon to find out that his life was going to take a major turn. And when his brothers conspired against him, when they had had enough, they took him and threw him in a pit and left him there for dead. And they actually went so far as to say to their father, "Oh, we don't know what happened to Joseph. He was with us, but he got killed. He's no longer alive." "Don't know, Dad. He's gone. Now we can move on with life." When we read through these chapters in Genesis and we reflect upon those chapters, we find a pattern for our spiritual growth, which is repeated many times. We can find it in the life of David. We can find it in the life of even Paul in the New Testament. I believe that this pattern, in it, we discover God's plan for daily living. Life to the fullest. It is his game plan as opposed to the pattern of the world. So what does this have to do with denying ourselves, taking up our cross daily, and following Christ? I want to say, if we really look at that, there's 4 components that Jacob had to face. There's 4 things he had to get right, and he had to do them in a certain order. And when he got that right, he was able to step into his destiny. First of all was complete dependence on God for everything. So when he found himself in that pit, he had nowhere else to turn. He had nowhere else to go. He had to look up and he said, my God, why has this happened to me?" He tried that pity party for a while. He tried to be the victim for a while. That wasn't getting him out of the pit. That wasn't going to help him. He just found himself going down and sinking deeper and deeper there. He had to realize that he needed to be dependent completely on God for everything. He had forgotten that. He had heard it, but he had forgotten it. The second thing that Jacob needed to do, and that I think all of us need to be encouraged with, is we need to develop our character. Oh, wow. Develop our character. What does that mean? We need to be men and women of integrity. We need to be men and women that when we say yes, we mean yes. When we say no, we mean no. We need to be people that can stand upright, that can walk, and that can move, and that can encourage, and that can utilize the gifts and abilities and talents and take it wherever it is that we go. We need to develop that inner side, that inner ability, because that's where our strength comes from. We also, and Jacob needed to realize, we need to do this in the midst of community or relationships. We are not an island unto ourselves. We are not isolated. We are not just sole individuals set loose to go and terrorize this world, so to speak. We are people that were brought into this world that we need to be able to get along somehow with people that we encounter. We need to understand that if we are in a marriage, we need to be supportive and encouraging of our spouse, not bashing or battering them down, not just mentally trying to do tricks and trips on them. We need to realize that in a family system, we need to reach out and we need to encourage those that are rising up. Yes, kids are going to be kids. Okay? They're going to do things. And sometimes as adults, we're going to get irritated and we're going to fuss and we're going to fume about that kind of thing. And we're going to say, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, I just can't do one more thing. But the responsibility is when we agreed with God to bring that child into this world, our life changed at that moment. Our life was now going to be directed and ordered for them, not for us. So how do we get to that place? How do we develop that relationship of community? How do we reach out to people that are in need? How do we reach out to people that have all kinds of things that get under our skin? And we can say, Lord, I can't do it one more time. Sometimes we just need to go back and say, Lord, help me. Give me the words. Show me. So that we can step out and we can be there for them. Now, does the Lord say that we have to reach into our pocketbook all the time? I don't think it said anything about that in the scriptures. To help people, yes. To get them on a right road, yes. But to take and empty and put myself in a position where I can't even afford to have a meal myself, that I don't think was ever in the scriptures. I don't think that was really the plan of God. But what he did encourage us to do was to say, brother, if you're having a hard time, I can give you something that I can encourage you with. And you know what? Maybe temporarily, I can give you $20 for a little gas. But I'm going to go put that in your tank. I'm not going to just give you the dollars because I really don't know what those dollars are going to be used for if I release it into your hands. Chances are the mismanagement that we've done in life will continue unless somebody helps us. Okay? The fourth characteristic that Jacob had to realize, and that all of us are called to realize, is that we do everything in our lives with excellence and competence. With excellence and competence. We do everything as if it were for the Lord. It doesn't matter if I'm working as a housekeeper in a hotel. When I am there and these people around me are acting all crazy and stuff, what the Lord is calling me to do, me, as the chosen housekeeper, as the one who has the job, what he is calling me to do is to do my very best and to put in a good, solid day's work. It doesn't matter what the others are doing. I can look to them and think, why are they getting away with this? Why are they cussing? Why are they doing all these crazy things? It doesn't matter. Because what the Lord is doing is he's dealing with me. He will deal with them on his own time scale. So we find that Joseph was thrown into a pit. Joseph had to realize there was something that needed to change. You know, I want to help you to understand these four concepts in maybe a more realistic or practical way. How many of you have ever watched the game, the All-American game of baseball? Yeah? Yeah? How many of you have ever played either in Little League or in high school or maybe it was a church group or whatever actually played that game? Yeah? Yeah? We've all done it. How many of you have sat at the television on a Sunday afternoon, and when your favorite team and that person gets up there and he strikes out, you decide that you're going to tell him how to do things? You start yelling at the TV, and you think that that's going to really make a difference in the whole course of things, as if that guy can really hear you? Oh, yeah, we've been there. Not only is it entertaining, but if we look at that game of baseball, there's 4 things that are so significant that come out. And there's actually 5 primary rules that govern it. It doesn't matter if you're a little leaguer, if you're in high school, if you're in college, or you're in the major leagues. Number 1 is there are always 4 bases. 4 bases. Okay? You know what? When you go into junior high or high school, they don't add another base. When you go into the major leagues, they don't add 2 more bases. It's always 4. Always 4 bases. You score in the game only when you're able to cross home plate. Only when. That's when you win. That's when you actually can say, woohoo! Okay? You must touch first, second, and third bases before crossing home plate. If you don't touch any of those, it don't count. You must run the bases in order. You can't hit a ball and start going off to third base or swing over and think you're going to dash straight across past the pitcher, go hit second base. No, you've got to go to first, second, third, and then home. Okay? If you miss a base, too bad, you're out. So what does this have to do with denying ourselves, taking up our cross, and following Christ? What in the world can this all-American game called baseball teach us? There's 4 bases. There's a pitcher. Now let's think about this. Home plate is the key to it all. Home plate, even before you step up in that batter's box, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done, right? First of all, you need to learn the rules of the game. You need to understand when you hit that ball, bang, 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 you got to do something. You got to step out and you better start running, and you better hope that the next person that's out there doesn't do a fly catch or doesn't somehow get that ball to first before you make it. You see, there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things. Your coach is encouraging you. Your coach is trying to help you to work together. Your coach is building you up. You've got a lot of preparation. You study the rules. You learn how to deal with it. Home plate is where you become dependent on the wisdom and the knowledge of those that have gone before you. That's where it happens. And home plate is where you finally have the victory. Okay? So dependence. As a Christian, as a newly arrived Christian, when we first hear that word and that invitation from Jesus to enter into our lives, we go, I understand, God, that you're merciful. I understand that you can forgive me. I understand that you can help me. I understand that you can change and move things around, and you can order and direct things in my life. Yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you for coming into my life. Thank you for giving me my chance and my dream once again. When we first accept Christ into our life, that's what happens. But what happens next? Jesus asks us to do something, does he not? Jesus says, spend some time with me. I came into you. I put my Spirit into your life. Spend some time with me. Get to know me. How do we get to know him? Well, it can happen once a week for an hour. When we come and we just be entertained, or we just go, thank you, Jesus. And then sometimes we say, oh, but wait a minute, the game is coming on, so now I have to leave and I can't be around anymore. It can happen that way. Not real likely, but it can happen. What it calls is daily, we need to get to know him. Daily, we've got to stop everything that goes on in our plans, our desires, our wishes, our dreams. And we've got to say, Jesus, help me today. Jesus, show me what it means. Jesus, encourage me. Jesus, show me the person you want me to visit with and talk with today. Every single day. It isn't just once, Chad. Every day. And we read his word, because his word is the very blueprint of what we can do to get, once we get to first base. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But his blueprint shows us the direction of where we are called to go and to live. If we want to hit that home run, if we want to be successful, if we want to move around those bases, we need to put ourselves in a position to be able to receive. We do it through prayer. We do it through reading his word. Home plate teaches us dependence before we even get into that batter's box. Okay? And we're facing the enemy. That'd be the pitcher, by the way. Because we don't know what that pitcher's going to do. We don't know if he's going to just lob something up and it'll be a nice, easy little hit for us so we can have a grand slam home run. We don't know that. We don't know if it's going to be a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that it's like, wait a minute. I had my bat here, I saw the pitcher and the catcher, and the umpire says, strike! So how'd that get by me? We don't know if he's going to decide to throw a curveball.